Hi there. We're looking today at another sample proof from Chapter 4. I've drawn the picture on the board here, and what you can see is the given information is angle 3 is congruent to angle 4, angle 5 is congruent to angle 6, and that's all we have. What we're trying to prove is that FG is congruent to JH. Prove FG congruent to JH. So we're trying to prove this side here is congruent to this side over here. Now, just looking at that, it appears that the best way to go about it is going to be to prove that these two triangles are congruent. There is another possibility, if that doesn't seem to work, and that would be to prove this triangle here, which is GJF, is congruent to this triangle over here, HFJ. All right, but let's see if we can go the easier route first. I've numbered some of the angles here so that we can work with them more easily. I would be inclined to start with stating that angle 3 is congruent to angle 1, and angle 4 is congruent to angle 2, and I'll show you why in a moment. So angle 3 congruent to angle 1, and angle 4 congruent to angle 2. And that is vertical angles theorem. Now, what does that do for us? So let me mark this right here. If we're trying to prove these two triangles congruent, we have this angle to this angle, and that's all we have so far. But notice what the base angles theorem does for us here. If angles 1 and 2 are congruent, then these two sides opposite those angles are congruent. So we have, let's put an x in here. So we have fx is congruent to jx. Step number 3, fx congruent to jx. And the reason for that would be base angles theorem. All right. Now we have two parts of these two triangles, and clearly the third part is going to be right here. So angle 7 congruent to angle 8, and that would be vertical angles theorem. And number 5 over here, if this then is congruent to, let's make that a little clearer here. If this is congruent to this, then we have angle, side, angle, to angle, side, angle, and we can prove the triangle is congruent. And once we do that, we get the sides congruent. So triangle FXG is congruent to triangle JXH. JXH. And the reason would be angle, side, angle. And then step number 6 is FG is congruent to JH. And the reason for that is C, P, C, T, C, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And that concludes the proof.